Nintendo company. I'm not really sure what you're doing with the market, but it's really strange. And I like the completionist. I know people have their concerns about the completionist. But yeah, like if you have your concerns, then that's yours to have. My understanding is that he didn't specifically, he himself like explain the situation. So it's best that he represents himself. I can't say things because anything that I say is based on like my opinions. But we're talking about how whether or not Nintendo is a price gouging company, and on the back end, I stopped following Nintendo just because like Nintendo has had several practices to where it makes it harder to like their games. In my experience, I had so much fun. I made do with what I was able to do with Scarlet and Violet because that Pokemon game is a Pokemon game. When the game first came out, it felt unfinished. It was really laggy, even if you try to go online. Things about the online features were really like unstable, and then at some point, they changed settings to where you can only do online features like wonder trading if you had a subscription. When on release, hold on. Let me see if it's right. Pokemon Wonder Trade. Um, Only on Nintendo subscription, because that's what happened to me. Because at a certain point, I was able to play. I was able to use the Wonder feature when had access to Wi-Fi. I was able to do Wonder trading by trading with Pokemon that I didn't want, and you need to do a paid Nintendo subscription, but that wasn't the case originally. Because when I first had to trade Pokemon, oh god, yeah. So like, because like for whatever reason, they changed it on me. Wait, I was able to Wonder trade in the beginning of Scarlet and Violet, but not anymore. Yeah, because it was like there was a certain point getting stuck on local trade mode, trying to trade restricted Pokemon, which that wasn't true. Huh. That was just the weirdest thing for me, because I'll have to double check. Based on this, it looks like I have to like check it over again. But essentially, at some point, I stopped being able to Wonder Trade, and I don't have any faith in the abilities of the new Pokemon, because the new Pokemon game feels it feels like a challenging departure from previous games. And I've heard from a lot of people that I trust that Pokemon ZA is a much smaller game, and it doesn't hit my nostalgia as someone who's played since Pokemon Blue and Red. But anyways, enough about me.
The gaming landscape in 2025 is kind of insane. Live service games are the new standard, layoffs and buyouts happen constantly, and price hikes seem to only be getting worse. All of this dovetails the broader economic nightmare that many of us are staring
Number of Americans living paycheck to paycheck. Yeah, that's definitely true.
straight down the barrel of. Amidst these rocky circumstances, Nintendo stands as one of the few companies that still prioritizes interesting, one-of-a-kind, single-player focused games made by inspired and well-paid people. Their employee retention is still excellent. There's just
I will say there's never been a company. There hasn't been a company that has had a there's a staying power when it comes to Nintendo games, to where it's been 33 years of my life, and already like Pokemon has been around my time. has been around in my life. There's been Mario, there's been Link, Samus, all these games that you can think of in Smash Bros. I've seen a lot of their lifestyle.
Aren't many other companies out there that can afford to take so many risks given the shareholder-driven times that we're in, if we're being honest. Despite this reputation, or maybe because of it, a lot of valid criticism has been raised about the recent games and prices. Nintendo has been pushing right up against the limit of what people are willing to pay for their products, and it feels significant.
Sorry, I didn't catch that. Drop the price. Yeah, that drop the prices was a huge thing a while ago because I think at some point earlier this year or last year, they were in conversations of making the base price of games to be $80 when already other markets have already pushed games to be 70 as it was. And it took a while for us to get used to $60 games as it is too, because nowadays it's like I think he does the math of it later on, but you have to look at Nintendo as an expensive franchise now. Gaming has become so luxurious, it makes people question if they should pick it up, because for you to like put yourself in a position to have Nintendo games, there's the barrier of entry is like hi Joe, $450 for the console alone, maybe $500 if you did the console and its bundle game, which I think might be Mario Kart World. But then if you buy games, if you already have the console, there's $80 per pack. There's a subscription fee. There's equipment for multiplayer gaming, like a webcam for you and your friends to see each other. There is like a buggy chat system that they could just replace. That the customers already have access to, like Discord. There's a Discord feature that's expensive. So it's a lot of things that gets super expensive.
Nintendo has been pushing right up against the limit of what people are willing to pay for their products, and it feels significantly more cynical than the Nintendo that we know of the past. So, is it all true then? Has Nintendo truly sold out to all of their shareholders?
Start up, cash in, sell out, broda.
We're used to other companies.
Game Pass gets major price hike to offer more flexible choices and value, Microsoft says with a complete straight face. That is, like, they are within its power to, like, technically... so if you subscribe to the model that is for PC, for console, and the ability to play remotely on a non TV device, like on your tablet or something, or on your computer, on your tablet or on a mobile device, yes, that is very expensive. But I will say, as someone who is also feeding the system, I have to pay. I went from paying $10-12 to $16 roughly for a PC subscription. That's roughly like one. Sadly enough, that's actually the equivalent of eating out in Seattle for one person, for like a decent meal. And I will definitely say, if it becomes too expensive for me, for a monthly fee, I will just drop in myself and be amongst the people who will either play free-to-play games or who will buy a game after I save up money. But the price hikes are a concern, and people who have outrage have within their rights to do so, because I don't know what their financial situation is. I can't say for that.
He's putting the squeeze on us, but this is Nintendo. Donkey Kong Bonanza is one of the best games that I've ever played, and I want that studio to keep making games more like it. Plus, again, they actually take care of the people making their games. We should support the game company that actually supports their employees, right?
Rockstar accused of ruthless firing ahead of GTA 6, cutting 30% 30 employees tied to dev unions. Take-Two claims gross misconduct. Labor group saying we won't back down.
Are all of these consumer hostile practices enough to actually cut Nintendo out completely? Well, let's take a look at what they've been doing this whole time. Donkey Kong Bonanza received paid DLC for $20 within 3 months of its release. And although Emerald Rush in my eyes is very substantial, players couldn't shake the feeling that some part of this DLC was cut content from the base game. After all, one of the only ways that you can track which endings you've received in the game is in DK's house on DK Island, which is only available in the DLC.
And that's if you are the type of gamer who does completionist, who finishes the game throughout its entirety. You pay for a game that's for $80, and you want to use you want to either spend a minimum of 80 hours within this game to make it feel like it's worth your time, right? Well, some games don't provide $80. If you were to equate your hours of gameplay by the amount of money you spend, some games are less than 80 hours worth of gameplay.
Emerald Rush balloons the price of DK Bonanza to $90, which is more expensive than Mario Kart World. Pokemon Legends ZA received an announcement of paid DLC nearly a month prior to the game's official launch.
And that's super crazy though, because normally when you give DLC are for games who's had a lifetime, like who has like more than the fact that we have DLC months after the release of ZA when it's still within its like testing phase because it's not been alive for that long. It's crazy. It's like making a live action movie of a Disney movie when it's not been out for a while. It's like it's still finding its audience, and all of a sudden you throw in a live action movie, right? No comparison entirely for sure.
And that's even worse. The base game is offered at $70, and the DLC story campaign is $30. And 3 mega evolutions can only be obtained through ranked online battles, requiring that $20 a
$120
year online Nintendo subscription. So both of these games come hot off.
Wait, that's $120 for just that Pokemon experience.
A month prior to the game's official launch. Kart World. Pokemon Legends ZA received an announcement of paid DLC nearly a month prior to the game's official launch.
And that's crazy because like you think it's teasing you to, it's forcing you to like think about getting this DLC when you know DLC often has content that's excluded from.
I want a man pizza. Don't mind me.
Yeah, if you can't finish it, let me know.
Okay.
It's crazy to where you are providing content for a game that's not even released yet, and you know this is an easy cash grab because whenever you get DLC, you're not going to get... There's specific contents of a game that you can't get without this, and so it almost scares people into buying the content.
And that's even worse. The base game is offered at
$70,
and the DLC story
that's $100.
Campaign is $30, and 3 mega evolutions can only be obtained through ranked online battles, requiring that
a $120 expense. And depending on what kind of player or what type of gamer you are, how do you equate $120 maybe plus X? So maybe so let's be generous with like the tax. Some people's taxes are about 10% of the price. So you're paying $135, $140 for a Pokemon experience where the online membership, it's crazy to where like, even with the online subscription, your connection to the internet is variable too. So you need to add another like $30-$40 a month for your general like internet subscription on top of it. So you're looking at almost a $200 financial gate at the door, plus $500 for the Switch 2, which is, I think this game is like, I believe it's for Switch and as well, but it doesn't change the fact that for the price of entry, that's like nearly $600. That's $200 to $700 of bones just to be able to play this game.
$20 a year online Nintendo subscription.
So
both of these games come hot off of Mario Kart World, famously priced at $80, with the game all but guaranteed to receive paid DLC. The Switch 2 is already priced at $450 in the US for the base consoles, with all associated accessories costing ludicrous amounts of money. $100 for a pair of new Joy-Cons, $90 for the Pro Controller 2, and the list goes on.
Now, yeah, a $60 camera for a $20 a year subscription for online service, and you would probably get 48 what is it, 48, what's the bit rate, 48p like camera quality, and the audio quality might be even worse.
These price increases aren't limited to just hardware and Switch 2 games, though. The Switch brought with it the end of Nintendo Selects, where its greatest hits games would get released with a lower price. This was a fantastic way to pick up a big game for a better price. But the Nintendo Wii U died for our sins, and with it, it took these great deals with it.
Yeah, because like if I remember correctly, the Wii U didn't perform very well. It didn't have a lot of like console unique games to like justify it. I felt so bad for it. Even our roommates threw theirs out. I would have taken it from them, but they threw it out because it was like collecting dust for a busy couple in their mid-20s to 30s. Like the Nintendo Wii U didn't do enough to give them the incentive of using their console, which is really bad. I would have taken that console. It would have collected dust too, but I would not have thrown it away. I don't normally throw away consoles. That's what I'm saying.
Following this, the Nintendo Game Voucher Program was created, which allowed you to spend $100 for 2 different games of your choice, making it for a $20 discount before taxes. Now, this was already not a great, amazing deal in my eyes, as it discouraged picking up physical cartridges for games for potentially less than $50 by creating a convenient instant discount for you that would lock you in on Nintendo's own storefront. A few months ago, it was later restricted.
Oh, that's great. Nintendo's game vouchers won't work on Switch 2 exclusives. Points discontinued.
to only games under $70.
That's great.
And even further limited to only Nintendo Switch 1 games.
That's
During
great.
the Nintendo Switch 1 generation, Nintendo
So
began
not
to
only do you give vouchers for Nintendo people to enjoy your games, but you restrict nearly like half, if not more than half, of the store, and you restrict it to you generation lock them when $80 games are something that are almost out of most people's budgets. Shoot, it goes back to a society to where in the 2000s you would only ever see 1 or 2 new games a year because of the expense that it puts on the family.
offer progressively less discounts on their games, on top of locking players into their Nintendo Online subscription models. Nintendo started paywalling Nintendo Switch Online user updates for their emulators increasingly behind the expansion pack tier, which costs a...
Oh my god, hold on. Oh, and then you get upgrade pack. Hold on. So, Nintendo Switch expansion packs for $50 a year. You get access to things you should already have to begin with. Got it.
whopping $50 a year. First-party Nintendo games now receive no discounts outside of extremely specific circumstances. Let's take Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury as an example. A Wii U remaster with a new side game bundled into it, and that's a relatively cheaper game in comparison to original Nintendo games being developed at the time. And most gamers sniff this out immediately. Despite this, since its release in 2021, this game has only gone on sale a handful of times, and always for the same price of roughly $42. This year's Black Friday marks a small change, with some Nintendo Switch 1 titles dropping to $30, but this feels more like a response to the public outcry from Nintendo Switch 2's launch. By comparison, The Last of Us Part 1 is a remaster of a PS3-era game featuring a full graphical overhaul plus the original DLC. This game relaunched at $60, just like Bowser's Fury did. But if you look at this graph right here tracking discounts, you're going to see a real stark difference. Not only does this limited re-release slowly fall in price within it.
Oh my god, January, July, the price would constantly decrease to a historic low of like roughly $25. But there's barely enough sales on Nintendo to where Nintendo's has like a floating price that's constantly like $60, $80. And I understand to where if something is priced at a certain value, a part of it is from the company's belief in the product, but also the fact of it not changing to the market demands. It shows they put profits over people, in my opinion.
A year of release, but it has actually stayed at this lower price to reflect its lesser relevance over time. See, that's the funny thing about the game prices overall. At launch, they're as expensive as they'll ever be, and that's down to an unspoken agreement between publisher and buyer. The actual value is never the launch price. Ideally, you'll have a cost per unit for each copy of the game, and that estimates how much money a publisher needs to make in order to recoup the cost of development.
Right.
The goal is to entice as many players as possible to
The Halo 3 launch, everybody was so into it. I remember in 2005 or 2005, 2008, we got an Xbox One. The original Xbox came out, and we bought the Halo. We bought the Xbox when it first came out, just so that we can play Xbox with our friends. That was an experience. Nowadays, I don't think that's even the case anymore. It's even to the point to where sometimes. Hey Tanas. You know that I honestly I want, because like here's the thing. I think the hair growing out to be that way almost fits in a way to like he's been off the internet for like roughly a year, maybe a year and a half, because of the whole like legality of like the charity like fraud and trying to like get ahead of it. So for him to then embrace this hairstyle after like separating from his original staff in That One Video Gamer and Normal Boots and frames per second, it's kind of funny where when you think about it and like say, hey, this is how I'm gonna be. I honestly see him. He lost a bit of weight since the last time, and like, if you get weight loss for more hair, does that mean that if he loses even more weight, his hair will go down to his waist? Does he get longer hair the more weight he loses? I don't know, but I do like his new age where he's finally he's back to making content and he's making good points. I personally feel like Nintendo is becoming such a luxury product to where Nintendo is putting us back into a dark age to where if you want a bought game, if you want a game to buy, you would probably be buying a game every 2 to 3 times a year if you're lucky. Otherwise, we have the Marvel Rivals, we have League of Legends, we have Where Winds Meet. We have games that are free to play and are releasing. But at the same time, if you want that company... You ate all that pizza. Good job.
Yes.
It's almost a situation where, yeah, like, if you want that premium experience, you definitely will be buying a game maybe 2 or 3 times if you're lucky. If you want to be within the space, definitely support your indie devs. Definitely support those people. Otherwise,
Did you say indie dads? Oh.
You're funny, Joe. It is a funny situation ultimately. Just like
want that new exciting experience right on the cusp of launch day. Playing a game years later is never as exciting as when it's the new hotness, so there's plenty of incentive for gamers to want a new game at launch date. Now, Nintendo is not special in the games industry in this way. Their games, like all games, become less relevant over time, sometimes releasing to completely zero relevancy.
I honestly, like, I understand that this is, like, hold on.
Games, like all games, become less relevant over time, sometimes releasing...
Here's the thing. I liked what they tried to do with Dragon Drive. They make a game that's using the mouse functions of the Nintendo Switch 2, and they make you, like, grind that controller along your leg, just to emulate the feelings of using a wheelchair. But outside of that challenge in gameplay, it's still a basketball game, and sports games don't perform very well, at least in my experience and within my circle. But it is crazy that, bless you, that they try to do that.
To completely zero relevancy. Where another company might have met a flop like Princess Peach Showtime with steep discounts to make up for weak sales at launch.
Oh god. Yeah, no. Mind's Eye was not very good. Mind's Eye felt like a trip.
Nintendo holds firm at a ludicrous $60, even in this extreme case. There's no way this game was not a massive disappointment for Nintendo from a sales perspective. And no, just to be clear, I do not think that the most recent Black Friday sale discounting the game to $30 at very few limited retailers for a limited time only changes the situation I'm talking about here.
Sound creative.
There's an argument for consumer responsibility here. After all, nobody's forcing you to buy these particular games. You only pay for what you personally want to play. Vote with your wallet, right? Just avoid the price hikes by deciding that the price is not worth it, and continue enjoying some of the best games in the industry on your own terms. Now that might have been true in the past and even on other platforms like PlayStation, but we're talking about 2025. You cannot vote with your wallet the same way you used to, least of all with Nintendo. Alright, so let me take you back a little bit. Let's say it's 2011 and you're looking at Mario Kart Wii for online multiplayer. Or maybe you just want to replay older games like
Take me back to 2011.
You might
Take me
buy
back.
a used copy of Mario Kart for, let's say, 20, maybe 30 bucks.
Oh, that would be
Ocarina
good.
of Time on the virtual console is about $5 to $7 depending on where you live, and there really isn't a Xbox Live or Game Pass subscription for the Wii.
God.
Nintendo consoles were not just famously less expensive than their
There's some controllers. Okay. The Wii with Mario Kart Wii. Roughly 150. Yeah, like the price at that time, at 2011, it was definitely like a choice. The Wii was the original buy though. It was like the only choice to buy because it's cheaper for everyone to use. But
back in the day, but constantly went on sale, making for excellent options for families across the globe. Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword comes out, and you want to try it, but you're not such a big Nintendo fan that you need it immediately. No problem. Just wait for the price to come down or wait to grab a used copy. However, this is no longer an option on current Nintendo platforms. Let's say you want to pick up Donkey Kong Bonanza because you were a big fan of the country games and you're excited to give it a try. That'll be $450 for just the Nintendo Switch 2.
Right.
You look and notice that, hey, for only 50 bucks more, you can grab the Mario Kart World Bundle, which is about 500 bucks. Mario Kart is an $80 game separately, so you'll figure, hey, you'll play that eventually, you might as well grab it now because it's cheaper. Now, you're at $500 for the Nintendo Switch 2 and Mario Kart World, and you haven't even bought Donkey Kong Bonanza. You add that to your cart, only to find that it has a $20 DLC pack. You might as well throw it on since you already know the game is a certified, critically acclaimed banger. Plus, you get to see the regional DK Island again from DK64, so the nostalgia is there. That looks pretty sick. Okay, so hold on. Before you check out,
right, that's like, wait, that's already it's become $623.
probably want to play Mario Kart World
Or you get installments at $82 a month or every 2 weeks. Oh my god.
online at some point, right? It's got online functionality. So you better add the Nintendo Switch Online membership to that cart. But wait, there's 2 tiers, remember? Right. The expansion pack lets you play the Nintendo 64, GameCube, and Genesis games.
And those are games that are limited to like and those are limited libraries, what they allow you to play.
$50 a year to play Ocarina of Time, Mario 64, Wind Waker, Soul Calibur 2, Luigi's Mansion, and so many more games coming forward. Doesn't sound so bad, right? But it's still a little bit steeper than you want. Don't worry about that. A family membership for you and 2 friends would only cost each of you about $27 a year. Of course, you have to pay that up front, but you get your friends to help you to agree to pay it because they want it too, and they'll pay you back. So that's $79.
And that's if they pay you back. That's if your friends pay you back.
$99 to your cart. And you'll probably want a second Pro controller too, so that'll be another $90. Before you know it, you're staring down the barrel of a final checkout subtotal of $760, and that's before taxes and fees. So how the hell did all that just happen? Nintendo is using Apple's strategy to move you up a price ladder, manipulating you to pay as much as humanly possible for what is ostensibly the exact same amount of content that you would have previously received in the base price. If you visit the Apple website, you'll find yourself climbing a very similar price ladder, where the starting price offers only a small portion of what most buyers will actually want, with tiny upgrades like storage, RAM, and accessories being pieced out as the individual low-cost add-ons that you need. Sure, a new MacBook Air isn't so bad at $899 for a cutting-edge laptop with incredible specs and excellent battery life, but that price does not tell the full story here, folks. You are stuck at 16 gigs of RAM, 250 gigs of storage, and a slow 30-watt charging cable. This is the bare minimum for a modern computer and still great, but just one tier better is $200 a pop for RAM and storage, and that 70-watt charger fast charging situation is another 20 bucks. For a slightly more capable machine of 512 gigs of storage, 24 gigs of RAM, and a faster charging brick, you're suddenly jumping up to $1,400. How did that happen? Your subtotal is almost 1.5 times higher than when you started at.
And that's funny enough to where like those settings alone aren't even comparable to like most PCs like non-Apple PCs, because this computer alone initially was like $1,300, $1,400 that I worked off. I worked really hard to pay this off, and then it doesn't change the fact that on top of like that, later on I had to get a new graphics card because I wanted to play future games, so I had to go get a new like graphics card. Turns out I have to buy a new motherboard to fit the graphic card, so I had to go somewhere else so it keeps climbing too. Like same thing, but the Apple ladder is also enticing because it's a trusted brand. Sometimes it's easy for you to climb a price ladder because of branding. Because like I didn't get a chance to climb the pricing ladder because this is like what, an iPhone 12, Joe?
Yeah.
I was able to get an iPhone 12 because her dad climbed the Apple price ladder to get her new phone, and I had the iPhone SE. That's basically the body of an iPhone 10. I was thankful to take her phone away and use it for myself because she got a brand new 17, right? Mm-hmm. Thanks, Dad. But also, it doesn't change the fact that the pricing ladder is something only a few people can attain. I would have stuck with my iPhone SE if it weren't for her dad getting her the new phone, and in maybe the next 3 to 5 years, I'll get that same phone that she got from her dad, and then I'll have a 17. That's the reality of most economies these days. That's just how crazy the hike is.
There isn't even a salesperson to blame in this situation. That's before you even look to any form of iCloud storage tiers or just simply buying a simple USB mouse or USB hub. What Apple doesn't mention is that models with 24 gigs of RAM...
$20 for a polished cloth? Oh, God. Have they not heard of used shirts? God, I don't understand these people. They've never been broke before, clearly.
Are only included on the models with the upgraded processors, so that tacked on another upgrade. Just like Nintendo, you'll notice that Apple will hardly ever discount their products, leaving that to the retailers like Best Buy or Costco to take care of for themselves. You're probably not going to want to use them though, since they don't let you customize your model the way that Apple does, meaning that you're looking at that $1,400 model right away instead of starting at $899. This price ladder manipulates you into making it your decision to spend more money, and Apple is famous for this very practice. This is a philosophy that is unilaterally applied across every product and game that Nintendo releases. In the past 10 years, Nintendo has adopted a philosophy that Nintendo products have an immense value, and we must always respect said value. This might sound
I don't even like
philosophy that Nintendo products.
This is why things don't go on sale. The value is the value, and we are serious onto that concept of respect the value of what the thing is that we have made because it is very special. This is not Ubisoft. As a Nintendo customer, fan, you're kind of conditioned to, if I want to buy this, I might as well buy this now because it's not going to go on sale. But she also mentioned that Nintendo has to be careful when adhering to this principle. There's always an uproar about prices, and the company won't want it to get worse. That's very true because it just sucks to where if you're buying a Mercedes, you know the value of what a Mercedes represents. You know the value of what a Mercedes is, so they priced it at a particular point. This is the same kind of principle when you buy a Mercedes, Lamborghini, a Lincoln. If you get a Rolex is the oldest brand to do this kind of ladder. I have never seen an instance to where a Rolex watch has gone on sale for the person working at McDonald's to buy. I've never seen a Mercedes to go down to a reasonable price to where someone who's working at Taco Bell and that they can afford it, to where they can afford it. It sucks, and it's crazy that this pricing war is a thing, but it's true.
Products have an immense value, and we must always respect said value. This might sound like an incredibly manipulative strategy adopted by the current modern Nintendo leadership. After all, the current CEO, Shintaro Furukawa, is a former accounting executive at Nintendo. However, that idea about no discounts actually originates with Satoru Iwata, another famous Apple devotee. That is why Princess Peach Showtime cannot get a discount on the Nintendo eShop. If a retailer wants to discount the cartridge, that's up to them. But right. Nintendo's working hard to keep that from happening too. The Nintendo Switch 2
That's because I it sucks where it's up to Walmart, Target, the third parties who sell it to make deals, because it comes to a situation to where if there's enough product at Walmart that isn't going on sale, they have to do something to move the inventory, right? How do you move inventory then by putting things on sale for half price, 30% off? the third party distributors have to do what they can to move products so that the new thing can go in. I need to sell as many iPhone 16s and 15s as I can so that the new 17 can come in, and money sucks. Money sucks to suck that way.
Of game key cards.
Wait, what? Buying physical? Watch out for the.
These are physical cartridges, but instead of storing game data on them, they hold a game key. Functionally, they work the same as a cartridge, with the exception being you still need to download the game from the Nintendo eShop. This game key card has only been used by third-party developers like Sega and Ubisoft so far, and the reason was different each time. On one hand, manufacturing cartridges is expensive, meaning a publisher can still launch a physical cartridge for retail store shelves or fans who just want physical collections for their games. In addition to this, some modern game engines demand faster storage.
Snowdrop relies heavily on disk streaming for its open world environment, and we found the Switch 2 cartridge simply didn't give the performance we need as at the quality target we were going for. That sucks though, because what it sounds like is like, because we're going into a new age to where like we don't buy things on discs anymore. We have the Switch goes on cartridge games specifically. There's still Xbox and PlayStation that still sell their games on discs, but there is going to be a point to where everything's digital, or everything. There's going to be a point to where physical media for gaming is kind of going away, and I'm concerned, and we're concerned that like when you play a Nintendo game, they won't. It's already happening to where when you buy a Nintendo Switch 2 cartridge, the game is not there. The game is a key that gives you permission to download the game and play the game on your Switch 2.
The Nintendo's cartridge format will allow, meaning a typical game release would result in a substantially degraded experience if it isn't running off the internal storage or the new micro SD express cards on the consoles, right? That's pretty valid, right? That makes sense. That works out pretty conveniently, however, for Nintendo, and extremely inconvenient for those third-party companies. For one, Nintendo is the sole manufacturer of the game cards, meaning they set the prices on both physical cards and game keys. Nintendo's also shifting the blame of selling the game key cards to those third-party publishers. That means when Sega offers, let's say, Yakuza 0 for Switch 2 as a game key card instead of a standard game card, Sega is the one who bears the brunt of online outrage. And on top of that, regardless of their choice of physical release, developers will still have an eShop.
Either lose 20%, 21% to cartridge cost or to the eShop
page, complete with a 30% cut of every sale. When you put all this together, there is no winning as a third-party developer on Nintendo Switch 2. If you have a physical cartridge, you're paying Nintendo a fortune for.
Option 3. Make profit or provide a good game value to customers.
Each cart, plus retailer relationships to stock those boxed copies, and possibly compromising your game's own performance. Let's say you still want a presence in stores. Maybe you want to give fans a physical option for your game, or maybe you can't justify paying Nintendo for those expensive cartridges. There's going to be an extremely vocal backlash against your use of game key cards, and you're still going to pay Nintendo for that eShop page. You might opt out for the last resort, which is a physical box with a piece of paper inside with a key on it. It's got the same problems though as the game key card, and you're still going to be processed through the Nintendo eShop regardless. If your game is going to be distributed digitally, no matter what option you choose, then you might as well go with an eShop only release. As a publisher, you're better off not pissing off your fans and just foregoing a physical release entirely. Now my friends, that was no accident. No matter what choice a third party makes, Nintendo wins. They get paid for cartridges regardless. They take a cut for each game sold regardless of the platform. They manage the eShop that distributes these games. They get paid no matter what, and can always throw their hands up and cry market conditions anytime criticism of prices or policy comes up. This also conveniently creates an environment where Nintendo can finally achieve their goal of destroying the used game market, something that they've loathed for years.
Used games aren't in the consumer's best interest. What do you mean? Wait, what do you mean the used games aren't in the consumer's best interest? Well, I see where the sentiment is to where, like, sure, but for people, buying a used game is equivalent to buying a used car, right? And so you being able to have the ability to like share games amongst your friends, like you would share cars amongst other people that need the car more than you do. It's rough.
Years. After all, Nintendo can't control the price of a used copy of Breath of the Wild on Nintendo Switch.
They can't. Yeah, they can't control the price of a used copy. Well, they can, but they can control the price of a digital game that they release. Because again, this game, like for example, for Mario Kart World, they can always keep the game at roughly $70, $80 because that's what the value is, and now that's what the value is going to be for all time, because there's no physical copy to lessen the game's value, because it's not in the open market anymore. They get to distribute it, they get to produce it, they get to decide how much the game is valued, and they can always shift blame on the growing economy for like X, Y, and Z.
However, they can create a future where that used copy doesn't even exist in the first place, allowing...
Yeah. Funny enough, like the easiest example is there is no physical copy. There's currently no way to replay Mega Man Battle Network or Mega Man Star Force without using their proprietary game cartridges, or just buying it from them directly. And that's going to be a cost of $60 to $70 to me for a game collection that we can't get anymore because they shut down the stores and they pulled the cables. They pulled the rug out from under us.
Them to sell you a critically acclaimed game back to you at whatever price they want. This isn't just speculation either. Nintendo shut down their Nintendo 3DS and Wii U eShops in 2023, ending their virtual console program for good. There is now no way to permanently, legally purchase and own classic games for Nintendo's legacy hardware. I would know. I archived every...
Yeah, and like, the amount of money that he spent on this video is pretty realistic though, because like, it may look like a joke that he had to spend... It is kind of a joke to where he had to spend a Magic Cards deck worth of eShop cards to then load into the eShop individually, and he had to like fill it up to a max of $200 per account, spend that money, and then reload that again, and then he had to like sometimes like the storage on the 3DS is trash because you had to like, you can buy games up to a certain point as to how many pips that the cartridge can hold, and then somehow move that off digitally and physically to then repopulate an empty 3DS. It's an entirely long process. And I think for the Switch, for the Nintendo Wii U, we were lucky enough that you can pop in and out SD cards, but not with the 3DS.
Release on the Nintendo American eShop back in 2023. And see, this is why you can't just vote with your wallet. There's no way to engage with Nintendo Switch and Nintendo Switch 2 content without rewarding their sales models and predatory subscriptions. If it isn't the more expensive console or the controllers or even a new power brick, then you're contending with a more expensive new game model that gets less discounts, all digitally distributed with no ability for you to sell it to someone else or recoup some of your purchases. So put your foot down and say, no more, right? Just stop falling for Nintendo's marketing practices and take...
Wait, there's an ad, wait, hold on.
Foot down and say, no more, right? Just stop falling...
Aspen Gold reference and Aspen Gold reference. People are gonna be so excited when the Roach King was referenced.
For Nintendo's marketing practices and take a stand. Vote with your wallet, they say. So vote with it.
You can't.
So you vote with your wallet.
Yeah.
Until some time passes, and you're looking at one of those new games like Donkey Kong Bonanza, or maybe your friends want to jump into Mario Kart World Online, and you're the only one without a copy. After all, in spite of all of these aggressive business practices, it's still Nintendo. They're still not as bad as many of their competitors. You want to support single-player games with unique ideas made by some of the most unique, talented, and well-paid designers in the world. What other studios can boast that kind of environment and output? Your options outside of Nintendo are scant and filled with caveats. Sure, you can get Astro Bot on PS5, but most other new games coming out on the PlayStation are live service games packed with microtransactions, optional cosmetics, and always online requirements that you didn't even want or ask for. Even if you like a franchise for its single player, there's no guarantee it will stay that way. Ubisoft's very own Far Cry is now leaving behind the single player campaign model in favor of the live service gamble. So, this puts us in a real predicament. Vote with your wallet, but what can you actually vote for? On one hand, you can reward the studios that crunch their employees, perform massive waves of layoffs to make way for AI-generated slop to replace actual artists, and tie games to online services, make them impossible to meaningfully preserve. Even if a studio
That's crazy to bring up the
artists and tie games to
that's crazy to bring up the delisting of Overwatch original, because like that was a promise in itself, to where the company promised you're voting with your wallet, and you're voting believing that this was a good game. They released news of like Overwatch 2 and what it's going to be doing, all the bells and whistles, and then once Overwatch 2 is released, they in the background pull the rug from underneath you and they take away the original experience, to where the only way to experience Overwatch is through Overwatch 2, and they still haven't fulfilled some of their promises in the beginning of launch. So if you vote with your wallet, if you go down the PlayStation route, you have the poison of either you at the what is it? The price of entry is getting a PlayStation 5 digital or physical, and then on top of that, what games are there that would pull people in? What used to pull me in would be Devil May Cry, but that's now been able. But like they have not made Devil May Cry for a long time. Let's see. What about Mega Man? Mega Man's Nintendo. What about Halo? Oh, Halo has been going down a mostly declining situation, to where what's the point in buying an Xbox if there's no reasons to buy Xbox today anymore, because a lot of games within the Sony and Xbox experiences are leaning towards online connections. Like for the example of Arc Raiders that I used, and it was a 1 in a million shot to where Expedition 33 came in and just decimated the game of the year. We think of Final Fantasy, and Final Fantasy releases a game like every couple of years now, and it's going to be, maybe you can only, if you're going to vote with your wallet, you would have to be an avid JRPG fan and understand that we're getting a Final Fantasy game every couple of years, but the last game of a Final Fantasy game is going to be like maybe next year, maybe the year after, for the third installment. So it's hard to know where your money's going to be going towards. Otherwise, people would say, just invest in Magic the Gathering until that becomes too expensive. Oh, invest your time in a computer, and then you're spending more money on PC parts than you are playing video games. So it's rough to like say where to like the most cost efficient way to spend your money would be putting money down to a console.
Online services make them impossible to meaningfully preserve. Even if a studio makes a game you like, there's no guarantee they won't be bought out or otherwise suffer some kind of collapse after.
Yeah, and the first thing that comes to mind is Dragon Origins, the Veilguard, like Dragon Age.
After not being able to deliver another hit. The list of decent studios is getting shorter and shorter and constantly changing for so many reasons. On the other hand, there's Nintendo. Playing on Switch gets you the cheapest online membership by a huge amount, and for all of its problems, you're still getting a Game Pass-style library of retro games.
Rough.
You'll still get exciting third-party releases like the upcoming 007 game or Resident Evil Requiem. You aren't missing out on indie games, since most will either launch on the Switch or make their way over in due time. Plus, the Nintendo Switch and Switch 2 are just fantastic pieces of hardware. Even with all the game key shenanigans going on, you're still getting more physical releases for games that you'd never see on PlayStation or Xbox. Now look, I'm not talking about the entire games industry right now.
But like, even if you get more game releases, it's not guaranteed that those game releases are for you. Like they're like the volume of games being released, it doesn't it's not the same as like, hey, we release a new game. Yeah, is it for me? Release a new game. Is it for me? It's like it's you're swimming. Continually swimming inside of a big pool, and you wonder if you actually fit.
Now, we're still talking about voting with your wallet in specific companies. Buying a Nintendo game means you aren't buying a game by Sony or Microsoft. You're voting against the use of AI in games and voting for better treatment.
Yeah, even recent didn't Arc Raiders wasn't Arc Raiders caught using AI for some of his like voice from some of his like they use AI for the voice acted lines in some scenes, which is not good either.
For game developers, artists and programmers get generous vacation time, they get great pay that scales with their successes, they're promoted internally, making for an actual path that promotes long careers, and those long careers mean that Nintendo employees know each other for decades. That makes for way better, smoother, more comfortable work environments. That feels like a pixie fairy wonderland when you contrast that with the kind of working conditions at studios all across the globe.
Yeah, not great. Developer Rockstar is a machine in an industry rifled in an industry rife with work exploitations, unfair practices, unreasonable work conditions, stolen breast milk for some reason. I don't know why that's a thing.
And yeah, that means that you're giving Nintendo your money. You're rewarding all of these price hikes. You're voting for manipulative sales tactics to push everyone to spend more money for the same amount of content. You're voting for worse game preservation, patent trolling, anti-repair.
It has like, yeah, you're right. It has the worst gaming preservation, but we're coming to a what's it? We're coming to a situation to where should some games be preserved? Should we really preserve Mind's Eye? Should we really preserve Splitgate 2? Should we really preserve Arc Raiders? Shroud might.
And the list goes on. Nintendo is one of the best companies without a doubt, but they're also an industry-leading bad guy that will destroy your life and lives of your entire family if you dare to upload a Mario game for others to download. So
That's pretty funny to where like they're still within the midst of a lawsuit against Power World, and they lost 2 of their cases. So the losing streak is kind of coming. It's wild, and like they punish people for making the game more accessible to people. Like it comes to a point to where, as much as we enjoy Nintendo nowadays, just the past weekend I haven't missed out on Nintendo because there are other things to do. It just became a situation where we didn't like play Nintendo games anymore. We don't play much Nintendo games because it's kind of a price. We're price gated, and once you're not in the bubble enough times, you don't actually feel like you are missing something. You only miss it because you only miss certain experiences from Nintendo because you miss doing it with other people. If you play strictly solo games, there's not a lot of like, oh, I wish I didn't miss out on it kind of a thing.
So, what can you truly vote for? In my opinion, it's got to be smaller choices to make. Buy a controller by 8-bit dough instead of a pro controller. They're still fantastic. Don't get that Nintendo Switch Online subscription unless you really want to play a game online. Cancel it when you're done. Buy used games whenever you can and try to avoid the hype cycle on new games unless it's a release that you are really stoked about. Most of all, please don't buy those DLC packs unless it really resonates with you and you really love the game. Wait until you've actually finished the game and then decide whether or not you want that extra content. You might even want to try it later on, and you know what? That's totally fine. It isn't going anywhere. The marketing for these things can make it feel like you have to grab it right now, otherwise you're going to miss out on what everyone else is experiencing, almost like a book club or seeing a movie the week it comes out. If you're really curious, just watch a Let's Play or a live stream of your favorite content creators. You might not be able to escape the overall price hikes of the Switch, but you can send a clear message about DLC.
Yeah, Pokemon Legends ZA, $30 pushes prices out of owning every new Mega Evolution to $100 on Nintendo Switch. Nintendo's decision to announce costly DLC and lock 3 Mega Evolutions behind an active Switch Online subscription has prompted fans' complaints over the amount of money required to unlock every creature. And again, like you another way to fight against this is to just be acceptable for what the game provides on the base game. It's crazy.
D-packs, Switch Online, emulation, and expensive accessories. There are always better options. All it takes is a little self-control and not taking the most convenient option available. I hope today you learned something and I helped shed some light on why things are the way they currently are in the gaming space and help you decide on how you want to spend your money this holiday season. Remember that you always have a choice, even if the choices are really cloudy and intentionally unclear. Thanks for watching and have a safe weekend. Bye.
That's really good. Did I like it already? I liked it. Let's like it again, but unliking and then reliking because I like this video. But let's listen to what Gerard had to say again.
Buy a controller by 8-bit, truly vote for. In my
Yeah, so honestly, like ultimately, Gerard has put out a huge point, a big point to combat certain things, is to win, rather than trying to win the war itself, win the small victories to where you buy buy third-party controllers that people trust, buy things on sale, buy used copies if you can. I think that's what he said. Is that what he said? Let's listen to it again.
opinion, it's got to be smaller choices to make. Buy a controller by 8-bit dough instead of a pro controller. They're still fantastic. Don't get that Nintendo Switch Online subscription unless you...
Yeah, don't get the subscription unless you have a group of friends to keep you accountable to playing those multiplayer games. And honestly, just like when you stop having those experiences of multiplayer expeditions, take that away. My friend had to discontinue his PlayStation subscription for a month because he was going to be busy for December. But next month, I'm planning to be accountable and to be playing Monster Hunter games with them, to be playing online games with them too, so that way he can make the $120, $140 subscription worthwhile. How much is subscription again? PSN subscription cost. How much is it for the subscription? No, that's not what I want. PlayStation Plus subscription. What is it? What is the cost? What is the cost? For essentials, you're paying up to $80 a month, $80 a year. But if you want the extras, oh my god! Oh jeez. You can either pay $10 a month for a subscription, or until it gets canceled, but you get $80 in the year, $14 you get game catalog, a bigger game catalog. You have monthly games, but another choice is to just cancel it when you're not using it enough. And for my friend, he stopped using it because it's December. He'd rather spend time in December to be with family.
You really want to play a game online. Cancel it when you're done. Buy used games whenever you can and try to avoid the hype cycle on new games unless it's a release that you are really stoked about.
In this instance, I'm super stoked about playing Mega Man Star Force. That's the only instance where I'll buy another new game for my Nintendo Switch. Otherwise, I've been locked to playing free-to-play games or playing demos. I want to play Blasphemous, for example, but I've been having a hard time playing the Blasphemous demo as it is. So I can't play Blasphemous yet because I know that won't be a good use of my money. In my PlayStation, there's sitting a copy of Sekiro that I've spent $60 on. I feel like I've wasted my money on Sekiro because I've tried it on several occasions offline. I can't finish that game. I can't finish Sekiro. I'm really bad at it.
Most of all, please don't buy those DLC packs unless it really resonates with you and you really love the game.
Yeah, that is a very huge point. If you're going to be going down the pipeline that is Nintendo, don't buy DLC that you don't intend on getting to. To where, case in point, if you paid $80, $60, $70 for the experience of Pokemon ZA, play it until you're done with it. But if you feel like you want to experience more, or if that's the game that you want to play, then spend that $80 for DK for the Donkey Kong Bonanza game. The game is still enjoyable without the DLC. But if you want to add that zhuzh to your gaming experience, then definitely buy the DLC.
Wait until you've actually finished the game, and then decide whether or not you want that extra content. You might even want to try it later on, and you know what? That's totally fine. It isn't going anywhere. The marketing for these things can make it feel like you have to grab it right now, otherwise you're going to miss out on what everyone else is experiencing, almost like a book club or seeing a movie the week it comes out. If you're really curious, just watch a Let's Play or a live stream of your favorite content creators. You might not be able to escape the overall price hikes of the Switch, but you can send a clear message about DLC packs, Switch Online, emulation, and expensive accessories.
Yeah, that's just like one of the biggest things to where just don't subjugate yourself at these priced these are these are bad things. These are bad things for me. These are bad things that I don't want to put my money down for. And I feel like I think so the initial statement, what was it? My initial, should we support Nintendo? We should support Nintendo at the bare minimum. I think that if you want to support Nintendo, you should support Nintendo at the price range of which, hi Joe. You should support Nintendo at a price point at which you are comfortable in spending money for. If you only have for the next 4 months, if you only have $80 to like get a new gaming experience, spend it on one game. If you only have the expenses, spend within your means and don't go into debt. That's ultimately the goal for everybody here who's living paycheck to paycheck or from game to game, because there's a lot of other games that people are able to access. There's Where Winds Meet, there is Rivals, there is League of Legends, there are, I think Once Human is a free to play game. There's games accessible for everybody. You just have to live within your means, and yeah,